So, this revision video is going to focus on Jesus' resurrection and Easter. So, the first thing that could be asked is to describe the events of Jesus' resurrection. Now, when it comes to this, we've got to make sure that we make reference to the fact that it was on the Sabbath and that Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, went to anoint Jesus. Now, there is a little bit of variety with who was there, okay? So some of the Gospels refer to just Mary Magdalene, whereas others they all refer to Mary Magdalene, but others then focus on how there were several other women, okay, including Salome. But if we can remember that Mary Magdalene and others, or Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, then that is enough to get your marks, okay? But they were there on the Sabbath to anoint Jesus. Now, the next thing I need to mention is about the fact that when they were there was a violent earthquake, and the stone on the tomb of Jesus had been rolled back, and sat inside was an angel who instructed them to go to the disciples and to tell them to go to Galilee, because that is where Jesus would be. As they were leaving, they met Jesus, or a man dressed in white, who echoed that same message to them. Then, finally, as you can probably imagine, the guards were a bit concerned about the fact that Jesus had disappeared. So they went to see the chief priests, and they instructed them to tell everyone, or to tell anyone they come in contact with, that it was the disciples who came and stole Jesus' body. Now, when it comes to Jesus' resurrection, quite a common question is, why is it important? Well, it is one of the central mysteries of the Catholic Church, so it is vitally important. It's a central teaching. So, we can talk about that in itself, or you can focus on these two slightly easier points. First of all, it gives us hope of an afterlife. Jesus died and he returned. He defeated death. Okay? Something happened during that time for him to be able to do that. Also, the fact that he is the embodiment of an afterlife. He's come back from death. It gives us hope that we too, if we follow God's instructions, can have that afterlife too. The second point is that it shows the omnipotence of God. Jesus was dead and now he is alive. He's brought back. And for that reason, how powerful we've got to be to do that? Pretty darn powerful. Okay? So it helps us to understand that also. Now, when it comes though to Jesus' resurrection, some people, sometimes you will be required to argue the alternative side. Now that's difficult because the resurrection is, according to most Catholics, the most important time of the year. So, to keep in mind, these are some of the alternative arguments. We said about it being hope for an afterlife. Well, not everyone believes in life after death. Okay, whether they're atheist, could be that they're humanist, but they don't believe that there's a life after death. So, how could this even be relevant to them? Jesus' resurrection is therefore, as I said, irrelevant. The second point, similar to this, or slightly different, that people don't believe in the resurrection story or can't relate to it. Okay, so the fact that it's something that has never obviously happened again, or that the lack of evidence about the fact that Jesus sort of only other time where he is present, we see him, it's reported in obviously the Bible. We have hard evidence that Jesus died, okay, but less so when it comes to his resurrection. All our information taken from the Bible, and some people struggle to believe the message that is there. Alright? Now, the next one is how Catholics celebrate Easter. Now, please make sure that you do not just focus on eating Easter eggs, okay? You can bring that into your answer, as I will do in a moment, right? But you've got to focus on specifically religious ideas. So, or religious practices, I should say. Now, we can talk about the Easter Vigil Mass. First of all, there's the service of light that starts outside the church. It's the symbol that Jesus, the light of the world, is returning to take us from the darkness that ensues. Then, the second point is that actually during the Easter Vigil Mass, the priest wears white or gold vestments. It is a total contrast to what he wore on Good Friday, okay, all in black. Once again, the glory of the sun, and the church is filled with flowers. It is a time of celebration. The third point is that during the Mass, okay, there's a real focus on the liturgy of the Word. There's an extended amount of readings that truly focus on the nature of God as well as the resurrection story. And baptismal vows are renewed. It is a time of new life, of recommitting ourselves to God. And that is why this takes place during the Easter Vigil Mass. Finally, this is where you can start talking about maybe Easter eggs and celebrating as a family. Now, if you only focus on that, then you're not talking about religious practices. Okay, just like in Easter, just like at Christmas, you can't just focus on Advent calendars because non-religious people use them as well. So your answer has got to take more of a focus on the religious practices. Now, the next question you're asked is, explain the importance of Easter. Good news with this, all you've got to do here is you talk about the importance of Jesus' resurrection, but you've got to make sure that you use this phrase, that Easter reminds Catholics of whatever the point is, okay? Got to make sure you use that. Next one is that you may also want to focus on the fact that it brings Catholics together. Now, alternative, why Easter isn't that important today? Well, you can make a direct comparison with Jesus' birth and death being more important. Alright, that those key events, without Jesus' birth there is no death, there is no resurrection. Without Jesus' death, that showing of love and salvation, well, did we need the resurrection to take place? Some people would argue that it's far more important to focus on Jesus' death. Now, another point is that Christmas is, if you're looking directly at Easter and Christmas, the comparison there, that some people say Christmas is more important because significantly more people attend Mass at that time of year. Now, you could also mention about the fact that it's become overly commercialised. Once the mince pies are packed away in Tesco, that you've got the Easter eggs, the little cream eggs that are put out there to replace them. So you can talk about the fact it's becoming too commercialised and a lack of focus on the religious element of Easter, as signified by the point just previously. Now, that concludes what we're saying about Jesus' resurrection and Easter. Our next focus is going to be on Pentecost.